Yeah, any Democrat state will notice it. Right, yeah.
Probably, I don't know. Juice was gone. Good evening. I'd like to call the West Harbor Town Council meeting of Tuesday, September 13th to order. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know. The next item on the agenda is the roll call, but before we do the roll call, let me just say for the public's sake that Mayor Cantor is away on vacation, hopefully enjoying a good rest, and she will be back for our meeting on the 27th. Mrs. Casperson is going to call in by phone this evening, so I think the phone will ring here any minute. And Mrs. LeBreau, the roll call.
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Ms. Cantor's absent. Ms. Casperson. Is she calling in?
She's supposed to.
Okay. Mr. Davidoff.
Here.
Mr. Dodge.
Here.
Ms. Hall. Here. Ms. Kerrigan. Here. Mr. Winograd. Here. And Mr. Williams.
Here. Thank you, Ms. LeBeau. Next item is the approval of minutes. Ms. Kerrigan.
I move to receive and approve the minutes of the Town Council meeting August 23rd, 2016, and the minutes of the public hearing ordinance regulating barbering, hairdressing, cosmetology, nail, tanning, tattoo, and body piercing salons August 23rd, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 5 is the public forum. Anyone sign up? It's blank. The public forum section of our town council meeting is the time that residents have the ability to address the council on any items that appear on tonight's agenda that are not subject to a public hearing, and that would be as long as you're not talking about the ordinance with regard to the policies and procedures about refuse collection. You're more than willing to address the council on any of the other remaining items. Is there anybody in the public this evening that would like to address the council on any of the other items on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. The next item, Ms. Kerrigan, is consideration of the consent calendar.
I move we place items 8 and items 13 through 19 on the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 7, Ms. Kerrigan, it's under unfinished business.
Ordinance revising policies and procedures for the collection of refuse. I move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Before we vote on it, Mr. Allaire, this was just the subject of tonight's public hearing. If you could let the public know who may be watching WHC-TV, either online or on television, let them know what this is all about.
Sure. The ordinance amends 2 sections of our existing ordinances regarding the manner in which refuse collection is provided predominantly to condominiums. Current ordinances are inconsistent with the fact that a number of years ago we did away with trash collection to churches, schools, synagogues, nonprofits of that nature. The ordinance is being amended to comport with our current practice, which is that we don't provide that trash collection. With respect to condominiums, we do currently provide trash collection to a number of condominiums in town. Our ordinances provide for that. What this ordinance does is provide that the Director of Public Works can specify the means and methods by which we do that, whether it's by barrels or dumpsters or other methods. A corollary provision amends our Special Development District ordinance to provide that in the context of an application submitted to you for Special Development District approval, where the applicant has to already provide us with a trash and recycling collection plan, that plan must now be approved by the Director of Public Works, just to tie those provisions together.
Thank you, Mr. Allaire. Any member have any questions or comments at this point on the ordinance change? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of the ordinance, ordinances have to be by roll call. So, Ms. LeBreau, if you could call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Casperson on the line?
No.
Okay, Mr. Davidoff?
Yes.
Mr. Dodge?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Kerrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Winograd?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you, Ms. LeBeau. We're now up to item number 9, report of the town manager, Mr. Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. A couple of things. I just wanted to note the passing of a resident, Leonard Udoff. His funeral was today. Mr. Udoff was a developer, investor in West Hartford, the Central Theater building, the stores along the Sal, the medical building on Farmington Avenue, among others, that he rebuilt and invested in West Hartford. Most of this during the 1980s when West Hartford was still a sleepy little town, and he was ahead of his time in seeing the future for West Hartford. His son said today that he never used an architect. He drew and designed the buildings and then had his construction people build what he saw. And if you've been in the Central Theater building, you can see what mark he's had on the town. So it's a sad passing of Mr. Udoff, but his family is still deeply involved in West Hartford. On a positive note, I would like to note that Pat Allaire's favorite restaurant was covered in the New York Times in a review, and it gave it an excellent, its highest rating, and that is Brico's in West Hartford Center. So if you haven't been to Brico's in a little while, Pat, you'll see Pat there all the time, most of the time, but to get an excellent rating for a West Hartford restaurant, of course, from the New York Times is unusual, so we appreciate that, and we congratulate them on doing that. Nick Ramchandani retired today. He's somebody you probably don't know. I'm sure the residents don't know him. He worked for the town for 30 years. He was a financial systems analyst. He kept our financial systems running. And everything is computerized today, and he was the one who made sure that those financial systems did the calculations correctly, the software worked well, and was a huge resource to us in West Hartford. Nick was a gentleman as well as an incredibly talented employee of the town of West Hartford. He is retiring from West Hartford and headed to London for a new job in London. So I wish him well, and we will miss him. If you happen to be interested in the use of force, the West Hartford Police Department is going to have a training seminar on Thursday, September 15th from 6:30 to 8:30 at 103 Raymond Road, the police station. The class is limited to 25 people, but it's going to be about the use of force, how police make a decision when and how they would use force if they need to. It's really a very fascinating thing for average citizens like us that don't have to make those decisions to kind of hear how those decisions are made by a police officer. So if you're interested in that, please come again Thursday, September 15th, 6 to 8:30 at our police station. West Hartford Food Pantry relies solely on donations from the community to assist local residents in need of food. The pantry is currently in need of the following non-perishable items: pasta sauce, soup, canned fruit, rice, macaroni and cheese, pasta, spaghetti, cereal, and tuna. So as we head into the fall season, if you happen to be shopping, our pantry is in need of those sorts of stores. Twilight golfing. If you are a golfer and you want to play around before the sun goes down, Rockledge Golf Course now has twilight greens fees. After 6 p.m., golfers can play around for $11. Twilight fees are available weekdays and weekends. No registration is required. Tee times are first come and first served basis. So before the sun sets, between 6 and 8, maybe, it's getting a little dark. Yeah, it's dark already. You can be out there playing golf at a reduced rate. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Other than that, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Van Winkle. Any questions for the manager? Mrs. Hall.
Mr. Van Winkle, we had an exchange of emails earlier, and I meant to touch base with you again, but I thought you could speak generally. We had a gentleman who complained about the parking around Yukon Branch and that it was dangerous, and there was some, visiting of the site, and the town didn't think it was appropriate to put the no parking up. I wonder if you may not have the particulars of this, but talk about some of the issues around where we can put up no parking sign, and where I'm going with that.
This is Lincoln Road, which is just to the west of the Yukon campus. If you drive around the Yukon campus, you will see no parking signs. Obviously, people come for school there, and they'll park on a public street. And you could park on a public street anywhere in West Hartford, in front of my house, in front of your house, as long as there's not a no parking sign up there. In the early 2000s, we had faded no parking signs on Lincoln, and decided to remove them to see whether we would have a problem or not, and thought that we would have to bring them back if we needed to. In this past year, and then now this year, Yukon has signs up about parking fees in their parking lots, and it seems to have pushed more people to park on the public streets. So my engineers sent a letter to the neighborhood saying they were going to put parking signs, no parking signs, back up on the street for one side of the street. We had neighbors who were against that and asked we not do that, so we held off. We've had our fire truck go down the street, and it can pass, but it's passing in a tight street with cars parking on both sides. So the town manager is the traffic control of the town of West Hartford, and I'm going to send a letter back out to the neighborhood to tell them that we would like to put up no parking on one side of the street to make sure that the street is safe to pass. Our vehicles can get by, but it's really tight on them, and if they had to fight a fire and put out their equipment, it would be a little tight for them to work. So one side would be preferential for us to do. We're going to still listen to the neighborhood and hear their response, but I think if they really think about it, we're talking about one side of the street. It should work pretty well for them. It did in the past. And Yukon will be closing next October, and so this is really a short-term solution. Once Yukon closes, we can remove these signs on the streets, on those streets, and other streets in the area where there are no parking signs, depending on what future use is and how we create adequate parking for the future use of that site.
Thank you. Obviously, I think safety always comes first, so that sounds like a good solution. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question for the manager? Ms. Kerrigan.
Thank you. My kids were all excited when they were driving down the street. They weren't driving, Jody was driving them, but the police were there handing out pieces of paper with the picture of the Cadillac that they are looking for tips on. I was curious if that has resulted in any tips at all.
I don't know the answer to that question, and probably if we haven't taken any action, I probably couldn't tell you in front of the camera what's going on with it. That was a car that was parked on the street that we believe involved in a shooting that we had last week associated with Los Imperios Bar. So the police, we have video pictures of that car. We don't have a picture of the plate. And so we were out asking whether people recognized who might own this car. Yep.
Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. Just on that note, whether I'm not sure it's more appropriate for your piece of this or
Attorney Alaris. But if we could get the latest news on what's going on with the liquor license of Los Imperios and the safety issues surrounding that.
I'm going to ask Attorney Bonham to do that if you'd like it.
Hello. We are actually waiting to hear from the Department of Consumer Protection as to when they will be scheduling a hearing. As you know, there was a summary suspension of the liquor license for Los Imperios. He's still allowed to remain open as a restaurant. He just can't serve liquor. People can't BYOB. The statute says that when there is a summary suspension of a license that the hearing needs to be held within a reasonable time, but there isn't any definition in the statute for that. And is our understanding that the legal division is still busy gathering evidence and getting prepared, and at some point they'll reach out to us to schedule a time to hold the hearing.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dodge.
At that type of hearing, is there an opportunity for public comment? In other words, would residents who live near Los Imperios have the opportunity to come and be heard on whether their liquor license should be reinstated?
We are going to make inquiries into the legal department about that. I don't believe that's going to be the case. The hearing is basically, it covers the letter that was sent by the police department and Mayor Cantor, and so it covers the instance that we're describing that. So there'll be testimony from the police department and perhaps town staff. Don't know that the residents will be able to have an opportunity to testify. They may be able to attend, and there will presumably be the opportunity for remonstrance in a few months again, if it gets reinstated. So at that point, they would have the ability to testify.
And I just want to say, I live near Los Imperios, probably about 3 blocks away, and I've heard from a number of residents who live nearby. And on behalf of the surrounding neighborhood, I've already done this in private, but I do want to do it publicly to thank you, Kim, and Attorney Allaire, and the rest of the town staff for the professionalism that they have displayed in dealing with this situation. It's a tough spot that we're in, but I think you guys have done an excellent job, and so really thank you to you, and also Chief Gove isn't here tonight, but we really appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Anything further on the town manager's report from any of my colleagues? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is announcements. And I've got here a litany of events to announce, so I'll try to do it to the best of my knowledge and to do it so you can understand what I'm saying and clearly and concisely. We'll start with tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 7:30. The Chamber of Commerce is having a business after hours at the American Legion Post 9645 Raymond Road. People are welcome to join local professionals for an evening of networking, food, and an inside look at the American Legion. Admission is free to chamber members. Non-members pay $20. You can register at whchamber.com. The West Harbor Public Schools Bone Marrow Registration Drive will be taking place this Thursday, September 15th from 2 to 6 p.m. The West Harbor Public Schools is asking local residents between the ages of 18 and 44, just that age span, to help save a life. On Thursday, September 15th from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m., they will be hosting a Marrow Drive Registry at the Town Hall, room 400, to raise awareness about the need for marrow donors. Registration requires paperwork and a simple cheek swab sample taken from the inside of the mouth. Every year, more than 14,000 patients suffer from a variety of bone marrow functioning diseases, and a transplant is their only hope for survival. To register, you must be between the ages of 18 and 44, in generally good health, and willing to donate to any patient in need. There will be no out-of-pocket expenses. For our information, visit www.bethematch.org or call 1-800-283-8385, extension 720. Now, if you have kids in West Hartford, this is a fabulous event taking place this Saturday. It's Curiosity Day with Curious George, in honor of authors Margaret and H.A. Ray's lovable creation, Curious George. In the spirit of literacy, the Noah Webster House is hosting free, fun, Curious George-themed activities at 1 p.m. and at 3 p.m. So there's a fun thing to do here in West Hartford on Saturday afternoon. Also this weekend on Sunday, September 18th, from 12 to 3, rain or shine, St. John's Block Party. St. John's Episcopal Church, located at 679 Farmington Avenue, invites everyone to their block party. A bounce house, fire truck tours, kids fair, games, stained glass tours are featured. Live music by the Nields begins at 1 p.m. Bring a lawn chair and extra cash for rough hops, hot dogs, hamburgers, iron and grains, flatbread, and ice cream. For more information, contact www.reddoormusic.org, and it's free admission. Next Monday, from 12 to 5:30 p.m., there will be a blood drive where the American Red Cross will be holding a blood drive in the auditorium. In the auditorium, please consider the gift of life by scheduling an appointment by calling 1-800-RED Cross. Are you a golfer? The 32nd Annual Greater Hartford Senior Golf Tournament will take place Thursday, September 22nd at Rockledge Golf Club. The West Hartford Senior Center at Bishop's Corner will host its 32nd Annual Fundraising Golf Tournament to raise money for the continuation and expansion of Senior Center classes, services, special events, and trip. The event is open to golfers age 55 or older and will be held at Rockledge Golf Club in West Hartford. For more information, please contact Elizabeth Novak at 860-561-7583 or email her at elizabeth.novak@westhartfordct.gov. And another fun event, so you can put this on your calendar, it's Saturday evening, September 24th from 5 to 9 p.m., will be our 8th Annual Firefighters Grill and Beer Tasting. This event will take place on the front lawn of the Town Hall. All proceeds benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Beer tasting is the highlighted event, and for $10, attendees will receive 10 2-ounce samples. There will be about 100 varieties of beer from all around the world to choose from. I'll just add that you must be over the age of 21 to participate. As I see, there's people in our audience under the age of 21, so maybe Curiosity Day at No Webster House might be more appropriate for you to attend. In addition, a grilled dinner is available for a $7 donation. You get a choice of hamburger or bratwurst, chips, and water are served with the meal. Free parking will be available in the Town Hall parking lot. The event is sponsored by West Hartford Firefighters Local 1241 and Whole Foods Market West Hartford. Those are the ones that have been provided to me this evening. Does any other member of the council have anything further? Mrs. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. I just want to remind people that September 30th is the Feast on the Farm at Westmore Park, and there are tickets still available. This is a farm-fresh 4-course dinner prepared by West Hartford chef Dorian Puka. It is BYOB beer or wine. The 4th annual event will be from 6 to 9 p.m., and it's right on the grounds of Westmore Park. It's a absolutely beautiful setting. I would say it's the best fundraiser I ever go to all year long. The other thing about the event is that we have all local high school students that help to prepare. Not so much prepare the meal, but prepare the settings, do all the clearing. It's a great community service event that they do. So if you're a high school student and you're also looking for a volunteer opportunity, feel free to contact me. My email is on the West Hartford website and the Town Council, and I can get you in touch with the right people. And the proceeds go towards helping to restore the beautiful red barn there at Westmore Park. So hope to see you there.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Next item on the agenda is there anyone else that has any other announcements? I'm sorry. Seeing none. The report of Corporation Counsel, that would be you, Mr. Allaire.
That would be me. I have no formal report. I would like to note, at your last meeting, you closed the hearing on salons. You read the minutes into the record tonight, but deferred your vote on that till the next meeting. We haven't forgotten we were going to make some changes to that ordinance. We've drafted changes. We've shared them with the Health District. We want to make sure that they're comfortable with the changes. The plan is to provide you with a memo and an amended ordinance before your next meeting. I'm not going to be here at that meeting, so that's why I'm telling you this now. Attorney Bonham is going to be sitting in this chair. Be kind to her, as you are to me, of course. So that's issue number one. Number two, I wanted, the town manager missed the most important part of the New York Times review. The last sentence of this New York Times review about Brico is, quote, "The result is the closest thing we have to a perfect restaurant." For the New York Times to say that about any restaurant is high praise indeed. And I know that Mr. Grant is flying high right now. He's very, very proud.
Thank you, Mr. Allaire. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Allaire this evening? Seeing none. Next item is number 12, appointments. I know there's none on the Democratic side. Mrs. Hall, you have one on your side?
Yes, please. I would like to make a motion to appoint James Aiken to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for a term expiring 12/31/2016.
Is it moved and seconded? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Brings us up to item number 20, Ms. Kerrigan.
I move to receive with regret the
No,
resignation.
item number 20.
I move to accept the consent calendar?
Move to adopt.
Adopt.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's good.
Adopt. Without regret. Oh, sorry. No regrets here.
Is there a
We'll move our
second?
regrets later.
Is there a second? All those in favor of adopting the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 21, Ms. Kerrigan.
It's time to regret now. Oh. I move to receive with regret the resignation of Michael Cedar as of August 31st, 2016, from the Town Plan and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Before we vote on this, I'd like to thank Mike for his many hours of service on the Town Planning and Zoning Commission. It's a commission that I have high regard for and requires a lot of hours of preparation and due diligence to reach the many decisions that they have done, and Mike has served our town with distinction, and I want to express my sincere gratitude for his efforts on behalf of the town.
Great.
Okay, thank you. At this point, a motion to accept with regret Mr. Cedar's resignation from the TP&Z. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 22, we do not have any petitions. Number 23, Mr. Allaire, is there any need for executive sessions? Seeing there is none, I move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.